Hello everyone, my name is Joanny and welcome to Love Qualified. I am a second year physician associate student training in London, and today I'm going to be sharing with you guys all about PA school interview tips and advice. So before I go any further, I just want to say that some of these tips and advice I'm going to share in this video today is going to be based on my own personal experience and the research that I have done. It may help you, I'm hoping that it does help you, but also I would encourage you to also do your own research by looking at the university's website as well, because some of this information that I might share here might not apply to you. So do your own research, but again, I hope that these tips and advice do help you. So the first thing I want us to talk about is, why do they interview? So what's the purpose of these PA school interviews? If you understand the purpose of the interviews, then you would be able to have a strategy in the way you want to approach them. So there's two reasons why I think that they do interview for PA school. The very first reason is because they want to see if you have the necessary skills to become a PA. And the second reason is they want to see what kind of person you are. They want to really see your attributes. They want to see your character, because not everyone is fit for PA life, and so they want to see the kind of person that you are and if you'll be able to fit in the role of a PA. So those are two reasons why PA schools carry out interviews. Now I'm going to move on to talk about the different types of interviews that you can come across. The very first interview style is group discussions. What usually happens in a group discussion is that they separate you guys in a group, and then you are in that group for the majority of the day. They give you guys a task, so you're together, they give you guys a task, you have an examiner in the room, and you basically have to come up with a solution or make a decision by the end of the time that they've set you, so maybe 8 minutes or 10 minutes or however long this task is supposed to last for. So each and every person in the group is going to have something that they're going to talk about, and you guys are supposed to come to make a decision, a unanimous decision, or a decision where a majority of people agree. You guys are supposed to agree on a decision by the end of the time that's been given to you. Now, I just want to point out that the purpose of group interviews is not to say who is the best or may the best man win, or trying to show that you're a leader. It's more to see how well you can work within a team. And the reason why group discussions or group interviews are important is because in PA school you're gonna have PBL sessions where you're going to be with your colleagues, you're going to be with people that you don't like, you're going to be with people that you don't really get along with, and you're going to be with friends as well. So it's always good to learn how to be able to be comfortable working with other people, and not just in PA school as well. Within the team, when you start working as a PA is an integral part of the team, of the multidisciplinary team. It's going to be made up of physios, nurses, assistants, OT, so the occupational therapists, social workers, as well as the junior doctors and the consultants. So you have to be able to learn how to work with other people in a team, and you're in some, depending on the specialty that you're in, every single day you guys have to come together and have this MDT or board round or whatever you call it in the different specialties, where you talk about each of the different patients, and then you have to come to a decision on what to do about this patient. So the purpose of group interviews is for you to contribute, to make sure that you are speaking up, so you're talking. Obviously, you don't want to take the reign and just make sure that you talk and talk and talk forever. But some tips that I can give you for group discussions is to, first of all, make sure that you do give your opinion, that your opinion is heard, but be very polite and be very respectful of your colleagues. And if you notice that someone else is not talking, you can just say, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about this? Or if you agree with someone, you said, yeah, I actually do agree with you because there's this and this. And if you disagree with someone, you can say, well, yes, I see what you're saying. However, it will be blah blah blah, and you can agree with someone else's, you know, advice. Actually, it doesn't have to be your own all the time. If you see that someone else's advice sounds a lot better, you can agree with them and say, what does everyone else think? And so like I said, be polite, be respectful, make sure your voice is heard, but also make sure that you listen to your colleagues as well. Ask questions, try to get everyone involved. That would make sure, that would show that you're a good team player. So the next part, or the next style of interviews that you can come across, are MMI interviews or multi-mini interviews. So multi-mini interviews I always compare to speed dating. So it's kind of like speed dating, where you have different stations and the bell goes and you have time to read a question. The bell goes again, you go into the station, there will be an actor there or the examiner there, and you carry out the task or answer the question that they've asked you. The bell goes to tell you you've got 1 minute left or 30 seconds. The bell goes again, and then you have to switch and move to the next station. It's kind of like OSCE. So I think this is a very good opportunity for them to expose you to what OSCEs are going to be like. So in the OSCEs in PA school, you have 14 stations, and it's basically what I have explained now. That's how OSCEs run. And so MMIs are very similar to the way OSCEs are run, so it's going to give you a good idea of that kind of examination style. But basically with MMIs, the questions can range from scenarios to just questions about yourself. So for example, they could ask you why you want to become a PA or why you've chosen that university. So these are basic questions that you should have already known by this point. If you've written your personal statement, I'm sure by this point you should know why you want to become a PA, or know what the PA role is about, or why the university. So you want to know why you're going to that university. So I think that's an important thing that you can remember, that they might ask you in the MMI. And also in the MMI interviews, they can ask you lots of different scenarios where you have to act. So if you're a very shy person, I would say that it would be advisable to kind of throw your shyness away and make an effort to, you know, put yourself out there. Remember that they are not trying to trick you. They are not trying to, you know, create a hole for you or pit for you to fall in. They genuinely want to see the kind of person you are. So for example, you might be asked to deal with an angry patient. So for example, you've made a mistake, and then the scenarios might not necessarily be medically based, so it might not be a clinical scenario. It could be just a normal day-to-day scenario really, and you might have done something and then as a result someone's angry, and now you have to explain to them. It's all about, you know, remembering, you know, that there is always a reason why people behave the way they behave. So whatever the scenario is, always try to find out the reason why people do things. Apologize if you are the wrong. Don't try to be defensive, okay? If you've done something wrong, you've made a mistake, apologize, you know, respectfully, be polite. Let the people rant, because, you know, people react to things in different ways. If they want to cry, let them cry, offer them a tissue or whatever, but let them rant. And, you know, apologize, and then offer an alternative solution. If you can, if there's an alternative solution that you can offer an alternative solution, but listen to them, actively listen to them. Don't talk over them and stuff like that. So make sure that you're actively listening and try to provide a solution. I'm gonna leave a playlist down below to some scenarios that I watched on YouTube, so like angry patients, breaking bad news, stuff like that. And then you have assessments. So you have maths assessments and you have English assessments. So maths assessments basically test your numeracy skills. So when we get our prescription right, or, you know, not just in terms of prescribing, other day-to-day things, you know, like you need to make sure that your numeracy skills are on point. So I think the maths assessment, they just want to see that you can perform basic maths. I remember that when I had my interview, I was very nervous about this maths session, the maths assessment, but it turned out to be absolutely fine. So it was literally basic maths, and they do give you some help. They tell you before you well, at St. George's anyway, they did give us an example of the kind of questions that we get before we had the interview, so you have an idea. But if you're nervous about the maths assessments, I would say that don't panic too much. I feel like it's quite achievable, because I was quite nervous as well, but I found it all right, and I hope that it will be all right for you, because it's not complicated maths at all. In terms of the English assessment, so it can vary. They can ask you to explain or talk about a situation. For example, write about a situation where you thought outside the box, or write about a situation where you were able to show your problem solving skills or something like that. And this is a very important skill to have as a PA, because they want to see that you can be able to convey information in a cohesive manner in writing. There's a lot of documentation that's involved in the PA life. Even as a student, you're going to be writing loads of essays, case histories, reflections, depending on your university, and dissertations as well, depending on your university. So they want to test that you are able to convey information in a cohesive manner in writing. So that's one of the reasons why they give this English assessments. And they can also ask you for the English assessments for you to they can give you a scenario, and then they give you different options, and then they ask you to rank the options in the preference, in the order in which you're going to do them, and then you need to justify why you've ranked them in that order. So the reason why they do these things is because in medicine, or working as a PA or as a clinician, when you make decisions, especially for in terms of investigations, or when you make a management plan of things that you're going to do, you're supposed to justify why you make decisions. If a patient comes in with right abdominal pain, upper quadrant abdominal pain, and you send them for an ultrasound, you need to be able to justify why you're sending them for an ultrasound, saying that you've taken a history and you've examined the patient, and you think that this patient might have a biliary colic, therefore you want to have these routine bloods done and send them for an ultrasound to see if they actually have a biliary colic. So you need to be able to justify the reasons why you do things, the reason why you investigate things, the reason why you prescribe things. So so that's a very important skill as a PA, and that's what they're testing in, this kind of English assessment. And then I also know that for some universities as well, they can ask you to do a PowerPoint presentation. I'm not sure which universities do this, but they can ask you questions like, again, talk about the role of a PA. So in terms of PowerPoint presentations, I think presenting is also a very important skill as a PA. So you're going to be clerking loads of patients as a student and presenting back to your supervisor. So it's something that you need to be able to convey the information orally, and so that's a very useful skill as a PA, and it's something that you get better at, because I know that I'm only getting better with my presentation skills. So that's something that they do test in PA school, so they can test that in the interview as well. And also presentation could be about history taking, could be about anything really relating to PA. It could be an ethical scenario as well. At the same time, it's just about, no matter the formats that they ask you the question, it be a presentation or being an MMI, it's just, making sure that you tackle the questions in having a structure in your head. So in terms of ethics, you have the 4 principles of ethics, or pillars of ethics, talking about non-maleficence, so not hurting, not doing anything to harm the patient. You have beneficence as well, which is whatever you do, you're doing it in the patient's best interest. Then you have respecting patient's autonomy, and also justice as well. So these are the 4 principles of ethics. So in whatever ethical scenario that you're tackling, make sure that you remember these 4 principles and try to apply them in your answer. Remember that a lot of these scenarios, there's no right or wrong answer. They just want to see the way you think and how you arrive at a decision. It's more about how you process your thoughts rather than the answer in the end, because some of these scenarios can be really challenging, can be really tricky, and you would see when you're working as a student, or when you start working, that a lot of these things, there's no black or white. A lot of the scenarios are quite grey. So it's all about your thinking. Think out loud to the examiners, let them see what you're thinking, and let them see how you're processing your thoughts. Now I'm just going to give you guys a few tips before the interviews, during the interview and after the interview. Now that you know all about the different types of interviews, before the interview, I would say that try and leave your house early, leave home early. If you know that the journey is going to be long, if you're traveling from far away, get there to the city that your interview is going to be in the night before. Just try and make things easy for yourself. Make sure that you get there on time. And if you can get there half an hour early, that's good. Then if you know that you're a nervous person, get there half an hour early so that you can have time to familiarize yourself with the environment, and by the time that the interview actually starts, you'll be calm and, you know, gotten used to the environment rather than rushing. If you meet other applicants who are there, you know, make friends. Well, you might not necessarily have time to make friends since you're so nervous, but speak to them, you know, talk about things. Don't just sit there and just wallow in your own doubts. Just, you know, just speak to them, smile, and, you know, it might help to take away your nerves, it might not, but make friends, like speak to them. They might help you as well, give you some tips as well. And remember to take deep breaths. Deep breath in and out. During the interview, make sure that you read the questions clearly. Make sure that you understand the question they're asking you. If you don't understand, ask them to repeat themselves if it's like a panel interview. Or if you're reading outside, make sure that you have, I think you would have some time to read the question. So make sure that you actually understand the question before you're going in. And whilst you're outside reading the question, try and organize your thoughts in your head. So for example, if you're saying that you're going to be tackling an angry patient, so have a structure in your head of what you're going to say first, because you need to have a plan. You can't just go into the battlefield without a plan. You need to strategize. So while you're outside, have a little bit of a structure in your head, what you're going to say, how you're going to tackle the scenario. This might help you to not waffle or to not ramble like I do sometimes. So try and have a plan in your head of what you're going to do when you get in there, because when you get in there and the time starts, you can't take the time back. So make sure that you have a plan. Yeah, be respectful, be polite, smile when it's appropriate, take deep breaths. If you get to a point where you think you're not making sense, it's okay to stop. Take deep breaths, collect your thoughts, and continue. It's better to have a plan in your head, and then, you know, if you're waffling and you've gotten lost and your mind has gone blank, stop, say, I'm just gonna gather my thoughts. Say, I'm gonna take some time to gather my thoughts. That's fine, and then continue. Okay, they're not gonna take marks away for you stopping. It's better to do that and then get back on track than to just keep waffling and talking nonsense pretty much. So it's okay to stop and gather your thoughts and continue. So don't be afraid to do that. Take a deep breath in and out and then continue. After the interview, well done, congratulations, it's done, it's finished, unless you have another interview you're preparing for. But you've gotten to this point because you've worked so hard. You had the grades, you met the grades, your application was good, your personal statement was good, your work experience was good, and so now you've gotten to this stage, you've done the interview. Forget about it, okay? Just take your mind off it. It's done, it's finished. Whatever happens, gonna happen, okay? I mean, if you're those kind of people that just absolutely has to discuss questions with other people, then by all means go ahead. But if you know that you're not that kind of person, don't talk about the interviews, okay? Go and get yourself, you know, buy yourself some chocolate, or go and treat yourself to Nando's, or go home and, you know, spend time with your loved ones or your family. Call your mum, tell her how your interview went, how you feel, or go and spend time with your best friend or whatever. You know, the interview's gone. Watch TV, watch Netflix, watch whatever, read your Bible, you know, play some music, listen to some music, all of those kind of things. So it's gone. You just need to hope for the best and move on with life, you know, carry on, do other things. Try not to obsessively refresh your emails because whatever is going to happen is going to happen. But if the university is doing like tours and stuff like that, where they do a tour of the university, you can, and you're feeling it, you're not very tired by the end of the interview, you can go for those tours as well, get to know more about the university. So if you do get an offer, you might have an idea of what the university looks like, or you can leave it and come for an offer holders day or something like that. You know, make friends with the other applicants, you know, exchange Instagrams, or LinkedIn, add each other on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever, or exchange numbers if you guys have gotten really close. And just you can make really good friends from interview day, so that if you guys do get in and you start PA school, at least you know someone that you know someone that you're going to start together with, which is really good. And hopefully you hear good news. And whatever the news is, you have to remember that life will go on. Whatever the news is, it's all about putting in your best, trying your best, and leaving the rest to God to take control. He's in control after all. But yeah, those are my tips and advice when it comes to interviews. I hope that they kind of help you and give you an idea of what to expect. If you have any more questions about PA school interviews, please leave them down below, and I would try my best to answer. But thank you so much for watching. Have a lovely day and God bless. Bye. Except you build a house, the builders build in vain. Me, I go follow you to go. Anywhere you lead me, I go go. Jesus, my life is for your glory, your glory. She did.